Hi again, and welcome to How to Be Miserable, videos on psychology and self-care, occasionally from a backwards perspective. Subscribe to get notifications in your feed about new videos. Of all the difficulties that psychologists see, difficulty sleeping is one of the most common, sometimes on its own, but partly because it's a common effect of so many other problems like anxiety or depression. And if you can't get enough sleep, this tends to feed forward and make anxiety and mood even worse. When I'm seeing a person who has a lot of challenges, plus difficulty sleeping, getting the sleep at least somewhat on track is usually one of the first targets for therapy that I recommend. We can do great work together on everything else, but if they're still not sleeping, there's something of a ceiling on how much improvement we're going to see in other areas. If the person is sleeping better, they have more energy to make the changes they need to make. They can get more exercise, which is often a real boon to mood. They can concentrate better, improving their ability to get things done and meet the demands of their life. And they usually become more able to enjoy things they used to enjoy. It's hard to have fun with anything when you can barely keep your eyes open. So in this brief series, I'm going to provide you with clear, concrete tips to help you get better sleep. Many of them will seem so simple, so basic, that it will be tempting to dismiss them. Ugh, forget all that, just give me a good sleeping pill. But these strategies can actually be more effective than sleeping medication for most people. The whole project can seem a bit much. There's a lot to do. So in this first video, I'm going to get you started by not getting you started. I'm going to give you 10 things not to do to get a good night's sleep. And of course, if you're already doing these things, these are the things to stop doing. 1. Don't use YouTube as a substitute for care. I'm going to give you practices that work for much of the general population, but sleep difficulties can be caused by a variety of factors, and some of those can benefit from medical attention. Whether you're trying to get to sleep or resolve some other problems, don't use some guy on YouTube as your only resource. One size definitely does not fit all. Second, don't expect instant change. One of the reasons people have problems with sleep is that they try something, it doesn't work that first night, then they conclude that it's useless, and they try something else. Nothing is going to solve this problem overnight. Nothing. This is about building up habits. Most people will begin to see improvements within a week, many in a few days, if they're diligent about it. But you're going to have to put up with some tired days and even some frustrating nights while you get used to it. Third, don't take long naps. Remember what Mom said, put that snack down, you won't eat your dinner. If you satisfy your appetite for sleep during the day, you'll have difficulty getting to sleep at bedtime, and the sleep that you do get will be lighter and more easily disturbed. My best advice is not to nap at all, at least while you're trying to get your nighttime sleep on track. You may feel exhausted during the first few days. This is fine. We want to ramp up your tiredness when you finally get to bed. Later on, many people find that they can do a single nap early in the afternoon, no later than 2 p.m., and no more than 45 minutes, and they can still get a good night's sleep. But for the first while, most people benefit from avoiding those. 4. Avoid caffeine after 1 p.m. Caffeine is a stimulant that helps people stay awake. That's why they sell coffee and caffeinated energy drinks at truck stops. If your agenda is to get to sleep, you want the caffeine out of your system when you go to bed. But people who have problems sleeping often try to counter their daytime drowsiness with coffee or tea or green tea or colas or energy drinks to help them function during the day. What they don't realize is that they're perpetuating the problem. If sleep is a problem, try an experiment in which you limit your caffeine use each day and you have no caffeine after 1 p.m. Now, don't just suddenly go cold turkey and cut caffeine out altogether. Most heavy users of caffeine are addicted to it, and they will experience withdrawal reactions like headache and irritability if they suddenly stop. Instead, ramp it down. 5. Don't use over-the-counter medication to make you drowsy. People who want to get to sleep often think, gosh, is there anything in the medicine cabinet that makes me sleepy? Let's see. Oh, there's the motion sickness pills from that boat trip. Oh, and my allergy pills. And that nighttime cold medication. I think some of that's left over. And they swear by this stuff. But these medications usually disrupt the sleep stages. In particular, the deepest form of sleep that you usually get early in the night. As a result, the sleep isn't particularly restful. So these medications that you might take for other things might seem like a good idea, but they're not. If you want sleep medication, see your doctor. 6. Avoid alcohol after dinner. A lot of people have discovered that a little drink before bed really helps them get to sleep. There is truth to this. But as alcohol metabolizes, it will also tend to wake you up later in the night. Overall, you will get less sleep, not more. And the sleep that you do get will be less restful. Now, does this mean you can't ever have a drink in the evening for the rest of your life? No. When we're trying to get a person's sleep on track, we are pretty rigid about these things for a time. Once they're generally sleeping well, it doesn't matter as much if now and then they have a drink later on. But if you're a person whose sleep is really easily disturbed, late evening drinking may trigger a bad night more than it would for most people. 7. Avoid stress-inducing activity just before bed. Some people drive themselves to get the last of their to-do list done before they go to bed. So they're finishing up their taxes while they're brushing their teeth. Don't look at that last hour or two as a good time to get stressful work done. Stress is partly a chemical phenomenon in your body, and it takes a while for that to flush out. Save the late evening for more calming, relaxing activities. 8. Don't do really vigorous exercise just before bed. It's tempting to think, hey, if I go for a run, it'll tire me out, and I want to be tired when I hit the bed. Yeah, wrong kind of tired. Vigorous exercise will stir you up and ultimately enliven you if you're like most people. This is not what you want just before you try to get to sleep. Exercise in the evening is okay, but push it toward the early evening, not later on. Give some time for that burst of energy to fade out of your system. 9. Don't drink a lot of water just before bed. One of the things that wakes people up is a full bladder, and they tend to think, oh, right, I'm supposed to drink more water. So they have it just before bed. Then they wake up early on needing to pee. Not helpful. If you cannot make it through the night without a trip to the bathroom, fine. Lots of people are like this. But let's push that a little bit later in your sleep cycle. If you still want water, fine. If your bedtime is 11 p.m., push that glass at 9. Most of it will go through you just before bed, and it won't wake you up later on. 10. Don't assume you can ignore all this just by taking sleeping pills. The best evidence available suggests that consistent, every night use of sleep medication isn't that helpful for long. Within about 2 months, the person isn't sleeping better than their identical twin who never took any. Your body adapts to the presence of the medication, so it tends to have less effect over time. And because it's now used to the medication, when you don't get it, there's a withdrawal effect. Difficulty getting to sleep. Regular use can produce the very problem it's trying to solve. There is a use for sleep medication in pretty limited circumstances, but ongoing dependence on it does not seem to solve the problem for most people. So there, 10 things not to do to get better sleep. In upcoming posts, I'll make suggestions about things to do instead. If you like this kind of stuff, consider subscribing.